Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All Things Middle Earth here with 5 things I think we need in the game before the start of Season 3. If you were unaware, we have recently gotten some updates in the earlier seasons about the Season 2 cutoff time. So we have our rough Season 3 start date about February 10th for some of these earlier servers. And so it's gotten me thinking about some things that I would love to see in the game, not necessarily relating to new factions and new units and new commanders and things we could speculate on that they're probably going to be giving us information on, but more game mechanics type stuff or quality of life things. So I want to go ahead and share 5 of these that I thought would be beneficial. And as always, let me know down in the comments below if you think these would be beneficial changes or features in the game. The first one is something I don't really know why we don't have it, although I have a suspicion, and it is the ability to rename forts. Now, I feel like this could just be a nightmare where people just rename forts and are just toxic all the time, because I've seen some pretty hateful stuff through the use of fort naming. But for me, as someone who's playing and either using it just as a totally, funny way to say hi to someone, or marking a specific location of where you want things to happen, like tactically using them, I feel like if you forget to do it and it's stuck as Fort 5 till ever, unless you, dismantle it and then build it again, to me it just seems a little silly. I really feel like they should just add more of a filter to what words can be used with forts. And again, I feel like if they just get on top of that and crack down on people that are abusing it, hopefully it would slow down. But that's probably a situation you're going to have with any game. So, but I really do feel like renaming forts would be a helpful feature for actually playing the game, not just taunting your enemies. So I think that'd be something good to see as a quality of life update before Season 3 comes around. The next thing I would love to see is some kind of actual 1v1 game mode within the game. This could be one commander versus one commander, or it could be one tactician versus one tactician with, a number 2, 3, 4, whatever commanders. And the way I think this could work is very similar to the special task that I had for Eowyn. If you're not familiar with that, there basically was a task you had to do with Eowyn, which was just a glorified red book mission you had to go through and do through the little chest looking board, and you got to use troops and compose your own army based on the troops you had and based on the level and command that Eowyn could have. So I had to wait till my Eowyn was leveled up enough and have good enough troops for her to take in. So I feel like the structure is roughly there. I can't unfortunately go in and look at this in more detail because I've already done this, but I feel like the structure is kind of there. But again, just something where we're not asking for a complete sandbox. It would just be a little red book type map where you can only use troop types that you have, but obviously it would give you, you wouldn't have to use your actual troops in this mode ideally. And then it would just let you use whatever commanders and you set up different battles. I think it'd be a fun way because in this server specifically, I've just been pushed back the last week into this corner. Even now in these 2 corners, my feed is constantly filling up. 2 hours ago, I just got I got my settlement uprooted. 3 hours ago, losing 260s, losing 200s, all over the place, which I'm fine with the reality of that, but I'm pretty stuck here until the new season starts, and it'd be nice to at least have something to do like a 1v1 game mode like that. So I think it could be fun, and I think a lot of the mechanics are already in the game. The next one would be some different pre-built army compositions. Now, I feel like this, I don't know how difficult it would be to implement, and I don't know where, if it'd just be up here in the top of the screen. But basically put whenever you're using different commanders, either they'd be saved with each commander specifically, or you'd have some that are used just for general army purposes. But you could basically save these different percentages of troops. So I could say with Dwalin, I like to run 50% Master Throwers and 50% Guardians. And so instead of having to go through here and drag both of them and adjust them, or if you're wanting to add a third troop, even adjusting that, you could just select your Dwalin PvE build or whatever it is, or PvP build. Again, especially with a commander like Dwalin, I might be running him like this normally, but during Heart of a Hero, I might want to switch to a more healing build with the debuff, resistance, and removal. So I might run a different troop comp with him there where I run only axe throwers, or I throw some bow knights in there, or whatever it is. And so having those different options to choose from would be pretty nice in my opinion, and I think it would allow people to hopefully get a little bit more creative with what troop comps they're using and not just get stuck with one. So I think that'd be a very good quality of life feature in the army, the barracks here. The next one is in the Tavern, and no, it's not Tavern games. I've covered that in several videos, and I'll wait a little bit before I mention I want Tavern games again. But it has to do kind of with tips. Now, tips are, you get 4 a day. Usually one's a resource cart, and 3 are just these little missions that you send your commanders on for maybe 3 hours at the most, and they come back and you get some gear. And while that's fine and dandy, basically once you've been playing for a little bit, you have a ton of commanders, you can just churn through these things. I think it'd be interesting if maybe at the door where you see new commanders come in, there were certain scouting missions that you could go on with your commanders that took a longer period of time. So instead of it being 3 hours, maybe it's an entire day or even more, but the chances of the loot you would receive would possibly be higher. Maybe they could bring back resources. Maybe they can bring back gold. And again, maybe if it's long enough and depending on how you would obtain these in the first place, maybe you could even get like a guaranteed purple or gold gear, because it does seem like from tips, it's really hit or miss on what you get there. So I think that would be interesting. It would add another way for players, especially free-to-play players, to get different gear and more things going in the game. But it would also incentivize characters to upgrade different commanders, because there could be certain scouting missions that are limited to certain characters and they have to meet certain thresholds. So you actually have to send them out, maybe even with an army composition, and adjust your playstyle accordingly. So maybe one of my best commanders is required for a weekly scouting mission, which is going to be really beneficial for me in the long run, but I've got to adjust because I'm sending out Theoden, for example, and I have to adjust and start working on some other commanders to use in his absence. So I don't know. I think it could be interesting, and I think the details can be tweaked a bit, but you get the general idea. I think it'd be interesting and possibly give players, especially again late game right now where I'm kind of just getting beat up in the corner, I could at least be doing these scouting missions and maybe working on some obscure commanders for specific missions where they can get some different stuff for me to kind of prep for the next season. So I think that'd be an interesting addition to the Tavern here. And lastly, I think it would be really cool if we had a live map history we could see at all times. I do not know how difficult this would be to implement, but I shout out to Cold Prince on Discord who dug this video out of the ashes. I remember seeing it, but I could not find it. But basically someone made a video that was like a time lapse of one of the beta servers where it was just Isengard taking over the map. And it got me thinking a while ago, and I just thought of the idea again, that it'd be cool if there was just some kind of a little play bar at the top of the map or somewhere, you know, a button you can push, and you can just show from the beginning of the season to the current point, so you can see how the map has changed throughout the season, what different areas have gone to what places. I think it'd just be a very interesting way to showcase, especially for people who want to make horn call posts or even just content creators in general, being able to show the history of maps and talk about what things happened at what times. Even be able to recount through different old battles that happened, and even having possible leaderboards here for the biggest battles and all that, you know, which battle had the longest period, duration, deaths, and participants. I think that could be interesting to be able to look at different points in time throughout the server. So I think, again, it's kind of a quality of life for the map. I think would be interesting at the very least. But again, these are just ideas. I think there are things that could make the game a little bit more interesting, and the quality of life things just make the kind of everyday playing a little bit better or a little bit more enjoyable. But let me know down below what you think about these ideas, if you think they should be changed or tweaked, or if they're bad ideas in general. And if you have other ideas that you want to share down below, then please feel free to let me know. But that's going to do it for me in this one. And as always, I'll see you all in a future video.